What is going on, fellow trumpeters and musicians? My name is Joshua Rzepka, and today I would like to share with you 5 tips for learning a new piece of music. Now, we've all been there. We get new music and we throw it on our stand and we just dive right in. No plan, no strategy, and what ends up happening is we kind of fumble through it. And while many of us do it all the time, it is not the most effective way to learn a new piece of music. And if you really want to learn a piece of music and master it, and if you want to learn it quickly, and if you want it to stick, well, then these 5 tips are for you. Now, before we start practicing, make sure that you have a tuner and a metronome out, as well as a pencil, because these are essential tools for practice. There is a popular saying out there which goes, practice makes perfect, although I like the alternative saying, which is practice makes permanent. If we are practicing something correctly, then we are really going to learn it. If we are practicing something incorrectly and we're rushing it, well, that's going to become permanent as well. We are going to learn the music incorrectly. So it really helps to have a strategy when you're learning new music. It's also very important that we don't have any distractions when we're practicing. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to focus on everything you need to focus on. The first tip: listen to a recording of this new piece of music. Odds are, if you are in concert band or orchestra or jazz band, or if you're working on a popular solo, someone has recorded that. And most likely, a lot of the top professionals have recorded their own versions. So go online and find one of these recordings and listen to it. Better yet, find a couple different recordings and listen to all of them, because you're going to hear differences. You're going to hear differences in style and interpretation. And that's the great thing about music. Everyone has their own take. And one version isn't necessarily more valid than the other. It's all up to how you interpret the music. But it can be very informative and very helpful to hear other people play it. And it's going to give you a good sense on how the piece goes. All right, tip number 2. Tap out of the rhythms with a metronome. I know we want to dive in with the horn. However, tapping the notes out with a metronome, so put your metronome on, have it click, and then tap the rhythms out as you're reading the music. This is going to help you separate the physical act of playing and figuring out what the notes are with the actual rhythm. We want to be very secure with the rhythm. We want to be very secure with the notes. But when we're first learning a piece of music, it's really easy to kind of get bogged down with the act of playing the trumpet, with when to breathe, with what the fingerings are, with how we need to manipulate our slides, with the range. If we remove all of that and we strictly look just at the notes, and if we look strictly at the rhythms, then we can learn so much of the piece without even playing the trumpet. And we're going to be very comfortable and very confident in what is happening rhythmically. Now, once we get onto the trumpet, if you encounter a part that is particularly challenging rhythmically, one thing that I recommend, that I like to do, is just take your horn out and play through that rhythm using the first note from that phrase. So if you're playing a phrase and it's got some crazy rhythm going on, and the first note in that rhythm is a B flat, well, play the entire rhythm on that B flat. And once you're comfortable and able to really nail that rhythm, then play through it again, but add the second note, and then play through it again and add the third note, and so on until you get to the end of the phrase. And this is going to really help you master the rhythms in a new piece of music. Tip 3. If it's very high, play it down the octave. I don't know why more trumpet players don't do this, but I remember for so many years I would get a new piece of music, and especially if there was a high part, I would dive right into that and I would just bash my face, playing it over and over again, trying to learn it, trying to figure it out. And I was learning fingerings and I was learning the rhythms, all the while I was trying to play all of these high notes. Well, take it down the octave. If you take a high part down the octave, well, it's still the same notes, it's still the same rhythms, you're still going to get the sound of the intervals in your head, you're going to figure it out. Maybe a couple of the fingerings might be a little bit different. That being said, you can learn it, and then once you have it nailed, then take it up the octave. And it's just going to be so much easier, and you're not going to bash your face in, and your chops will thank you. Tip number 4, practice slowly. Maybe it's not the most exciting thing to do, but it is the best possible thing that you could do for your playing. Practice slowly. I always chuckle when I hear someone say tempo di lerno, but it is true. If we practice slowly, we are going to learn something quicker. We are going to learn something better. There's a saying that I heard that I love from the world famous violinist Itzhak Perlman, and he said, "Slow to learn, slow to forget. Quick to learn, quick to forget." And what he means by that is if we rush through a piece, if we don't take the time to really learn something, we're not going to remember it. It's not going to be ingrained. We're not going to have that muscle memory, and we're not going to learn it as well as we could have. Now, an easy thing to remember is this. If you are making any mistakes with notes, with reading, with rhythm, any mistakes at all, well, then you are practicing too fast. We only want to practice as fast as we can play something perfectly. Imagine for a moment, if you got a new piece of music and the very first time you played through it, you played it perfectly. Maybe you played it at 1/4 of the speed, but still you played it perfectly from top to bottom. Well, all you need to do then is take your metronome, put it 1 click forward, 2 clicks forward, do it again. Play it perfectly, top to bottom. If we only play something perfectly, how do you think we're going to play once we get to the concert? How do you think we're going to play once we get to the gig or the recital? It's going to be perfect. That is something that hardly any musicians do, but it is very evident which ones do that, because these are the performers. When they get up on stage, they have such confidence because they know that they have mastered this piece. And there is no worry in their head. Actually, the idea of messing up is foreign to them because they have never messed up on that piece. So why would they expect to mess up at any point in time? They've only ever played it perfectly. So that is something to really think about. Practicing slowly is the greatest thing we can do to really master a piece of music. Tip number 5. If you are playing in an ensemble or with a pianist, it is essential that you know how your piece fits in with the rest. So often, musicians will just take their sheet music and they will learn the notes on it without regard to how it fits in with the rest of the ensemble. Sometimes we look at a piece of music and we see just a couple bars of notes that don't really look that exciting. However, in context, you could be trading off your part with the clarinets. You could be doing a call and response between the saxophone or the trombone. You're not going to know unless you really go back to tip 1, you listen to the recordings, you understand how your part fits in with the rest. The way that we can do this best is by getting a copy of the score and really studying it, really understanding how our piece fits in. Remember, music is communication. Furthermore, it's a discussion as opposed to a lecture. Music isn't someone talking at you. Music is a conversation where you're talking with someone else, particularly when you're on stage performing in an ensemble. So often, the way that we play our part is going to affect the way others play their part, and vice versa. So it is essential that we know what's going on musically, what is happening, because that is going to elevate the entire performance, and that is going to help us to play our parts better. It's going to let us know when we have the melody versus when we are just playing a supportive role. It's going to let us know when to play out a little bit more or maybe hold back. It is going to inform how we change every aspect of our playing, from vibrato to intonation to tonal color. So it is very important that you learn how your part fits in with all the other parts. All right, that is it. I hope that these 5 tips really give you something to think about, and hopefully they help you learn that next piece of music a little bit easier and a little bit quicker. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. If you have not yet subscribed, please hit that button below. It really makes a very big difference. I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.